to talk, so thank you for staying with us. Thank you for the organizers for everything. And we actually think that we should have been presenting in the first session, because as you will see, we're going to talk about a concrete megastructure, as was talked about in the first session. And our building is not just the building, it's the whole, wait just a second. Yeah, it's the whole world, so thank you for staying with us.
So we'll start obviously with Kulas. Venus transforms the city from a summation of certainties into accumulations of mysteries. What you see is no longer what you want. We'll start with an aerial view of Tel Aviv from a commercial from 1989. You can see we're traveling from, and we see the southern area of Tel Aviv. And then you see the monster inside this area that has nothing to do with their surroundings. We'll see some numbers. This building is 42 dunams, its footprint. Its floor area is 240,000 square meters. There are 80,000 visitors that come in and out daily, and almost 50% of it is completely vacant and abandoned. The planner of this building is Kami, is a part of an Israeli architecture dynasty, and for example, he planned the Supreme Court in Jerusalem. We had an opportunity to organize and manage Ram and Dov Kami's archive. This is how it looked in the beginning. This is how we looked. And this is the end 3 months later, when the archive was organized and clean and tidy. And during this process, we found this unbelievable section. It's 3.5 meters long, drawn by hand. And we were completely puzzled about it. We had to know we really wanted to know what is it, this mysterious building. Later we found out it was the central bus station, and our obsession about this building began. A little bit of history. A very known Tel Avivian entrepreneur, Ariel Pilz, approached the city hall in order to build a new central bus station for the city. The fact that the authorities let him take over such a public service, was the seed of the tragedy to come as we see it. This entrepreneur approaches his architect, Ram Kami, and asked him to build him a central bus station. Ram Kami, who just came from the AA in London, was very enthusiastic of the spirit of the megastructure and the brutalism. And this is the first alternative he had for the central bus station to come. In the lower part of the picture, you can see the central bus station. In the upper part, you can see dwellings and hotel towers and This is the second alternative, and it gets more and more complicated. Battery is low. And a superposition of some of the alternatives where you can see all the changes this building went through. This is a perspective from the 60s. It's very similar to the main hall that you see today in the central bus station. And the section that we found in the archive. Basically, the idea is a city under one roof. You can see this huge megastructure inside the city. And zooming in, you see the fantasy of the life that they saw inside. You can see people with the news and the market and all kinds of strange things inside this new city. In 1967, the construction began. It wasn't for long. The planners saw the largest bus terminal for its time in the whole world. They thought it would take 3 years to build it. But quite fast, the construction stopped. After the war, there was a lack of building materials, and the money ran out, and the construction completely stopped. This is how it looked like during this period of time. And the new dwellers to this place were bats. Till today they're there, and it's known as a nuclear reserve inside the central bus station. This is one of the proposals during this period where there was only 80% of the skeleton built and the place was completely abandoned. It's a group of architects and artists that suggested to reuse this place or reclaim this place as a cultural and sports center. They even used the buses' ramps as tennis courts and volleyball courts, which is pretty cool. And the next thing that you will see is a party during the end of the 80s. So you have this huge place inside the city, and the most natural thing that you can do is just hosting a huge party inside. This is another alternative from the 90s. We call it the Archivan alternative. In 1989, a new owner bought this skeleton and wanted to rebuild it or to continue the building. So the next phase was 4 years long, and in the end, in 1993, there was the grand opening of this building. They even had a huge white elephant balloon released to the air. And even the Prime Minister, Yitzhak came to the grand opening.
So that was a little bit about the past, but now we want to talk about the present and how we approach the present situation and the future situation of this building. So just for you to get a more knowledgeable idea of what's going on inside there now, we're going to show the floors from bottom to top of the station. And on the right end, you'll see a little sketch of the plan. And in color, it's the places that are abandoned, that are not in use today. So in the first one, which is actually floor number 0, which is 20 meters below the street level, it's mostly maintenance, but there are 2 huge bomb shelters that were actually in use during the Gulf War in 91. The second floor, which is one, was used as the local buses terminal. You see this nice roof grid. Today it's completely abandoned since the buses transformed to build another floor, the second floor. This is the second one. The second floor, it was used as a commercial and supportive floor for the first transportation floor. Today it's completely abandoned and completely closed. No one can go in, so it's like modern archaeology. If you go inside and you go inside there, you can see things that stagnated in time. The third floor is actually a very interesting floor because it's fully commercial. It's actually working, and lots of people are shopping there. It's mostly owned by shoe salesmen, so it's like the biggest shoe place you can find. And it's also it's very bustling, half of it is empty. Fourth floor, it's the entrance, the street level floor. And this is the main hall that we showed you in this perspective that we had before. The colored places are like the movements inside between the floors. The fifth floor, and here we wanted to just take a little bit and tell you about the activities, the different activities, the first activities that are going on. So besides the second McDonald's in Israel, you can find there, a gallery, you can find several dance halls, you can find the theaters, you can find 2 kindergartens for refugee children, 2 synagogues, 2 churches, and even Charlie Chaplin is hiding somewhere in the station. And the 6th and 7th floor are mainly for transportation, and most of Israelis know them because they pass by to get one of their buses. So all in all, you can see in this sketch, almost half of the station's area are neglected and not in use. So this was the point in our research that we asked ourselves, how the hell did it happen? How such a big building got abandoned so quickly and deteriorated so much? So what we came up, or even before, when you ask people who's to blame, they will say the architect. Some would say the entrepreneur or the city hall, but we think, first of all, we think that they are not the only one to blame. There are several other things that are happening, like the underprivileged community, which is suffering, but is also like it's a game that goes both ways. The neighborhood was always ran out and neglected, and the time and the transportation that is inside the city. But all in all, there's the sheer bigness, the size of this building that is very hard to manage and very hard to control. So we think that it's all interconnected, and this is how we see the web of manufacturers to the situation today. So now we asked ourselves another question. As young, enthusiastic, and very optimistic architects, what can we do about this situation? We love this place. We learn to love it. We learn to know it very good. We know every bit of it, which is really hard to get. So our idea was that because it's very hard to make a shift in the physical building of that building, because of various financial problems, it's actually under bankruptcy for several years, and the company who owns it cannot do anything. The city hall cannot do anything because it doesn't possess any part of this station. We came across the idea that we have to do something to do it now because we can't wait. This building is going to waste. So we thought that we should reclaim this place in a conceptual way. We wanted to bring people in. We wanted to show them what kind of place they are, what kind of activities about the communities who lives and works and have their full life in there. So we started giving free public tours in the station, and lots of people just came in and joined us. And we then realized that it's an interesting place. People want to know and people want to tour it. So the second thing we made is those little cute booklets of ours that we call them the Central Station User's Guide. It's just self-published by us. We got some copies if anyone's interested. In these booklets, we try to tell a little bit about the historical story of this place. to show plans so people can get around and know what's going on there, and some quotations of architects and planners throughout the years. We also think that in order to improve and to think about the future, you need to know the past. So we created an exhibition together with the Tel Aviv University Architecture School inside the station that showed the history, the planning history of the station. Here you can see the huge first section we found. We published also a catalog with it. We also think that the best way to reclaim a place is by having fun. So this is one of the fun activities we have in the station. We hid a treasure box in the station, and we invited dozens of people to join us and just look for it. And you can see lots of people just running around the station, having fun and getting to know and to think and to rethink what can be happening in that huge megastructure that everybody loves to hate. And we invite you actually to, in the annual month, whenever the games are more invited. Now we came to think about a little bit about the future. We just for an idea, in this size, the actual size of the station, you can fit 2.5 times the Pompidou Center, 5 times the Arsenal Biennale in this building. Just think about the opportunities that you can gain in such a place. But on the other hand, if you ask anyone on the street in Israel, they will tell you, I want this place to go away. I want this place to not exist anymore. I want to explode it. So these are just very simplistic ideas of what can be done in the far future, since we showed what we think should be done in the nearest future. But opposed to that idea of exploding, and it's an idea for the far future, we just had to imagine things that can maybe do now, maybe can happen now. This is one fantasy of ours. What do you think about creating a huge city under no roof, with nature and stuff in it? And we'll finish, we started with Pool House, we'll finish with the architect of the building, which is Ron Kami. And this is a saying of his in the opening ceremony of the station. He said, the central station is like a stone thrown into a lake of water. It will create circuits that will echo into its surroundings for a long time to come. Furthermore, it is the beginning of a chain reaction, a shift in the reality of South Tel Aviv and the entire city, because the station has no beginning and no end. The station has the potential to either branch into the surrounding neighborhoods and pour into them a new urban life force, or to destroy them as an elephant in a giant shop. Thank you very much.
We'll have a short discussion. I want to ask first of all Toby.